Hey everybody, Anish Majumdar here, career coach and expert in the hidden job market. I've been a career coach for over 12 years. This has shocked me. I felt it urgent that you guys hear about this. This message is primarily going out if you're a woman, if you're an ethnic minority like I am, if you're part of any minority group out there trying to advance your career, whether you're happily employed or not, whether you're actively in job search or not, whether you're trying to do whatever or not, this is something that you really need to know. And it's something that if I wasn't exposed to on the other side of the hiring table, I never would have thought was going on right now, okay? Probably one of the most important videos I've ever done. It's about something called the ROONEY Rule. I'm going to explain that. I'm going to show you how it is actively being used to discriminate against you right now and what you can do if you're interested in not being screwed over by it. Because I promise you, if you're just becoming aware of this, it is almost guaranteed that this has already been used against you. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. If you would like to follow me, certainly take a second, put in the word Anish, put in the word career coach. If you don't want to do it now, I think you'll certainly be motivated to do it at the end of this, all right? So let me activate my screen share so we can look at this together. Okay. So what is the ROONEY Rule? Okay, named after Dan Rooney. There's a lot of BS. Basically, here's what it boils down to. Okay, it's affirmative action. It is a desire to say, hey, you know what? We're not hiring enough. We're not even considering, and consideration is the key word here, because what the ROONEY Rule does is it doesn't commit to hiring more people of color or more women or diversifying actually there. It's only basically there to increase the odds of consideration. Okay, that's the key. All right, so you'll see it in articles a lot. Okay, adopted in 2003, the ROONEY Rule, which started in the NFL, but here's what I want you to understand. This has spread out to multiple industries: internet, tech, every fiercely competitive industry, finance, okay? This rule and this approach towards dealing with diversity hiring has bled out, okay? So it requires teams to interview ethnic minority candidates for head coaching jobs, executive roles, as it were, in the corporate world, okay? Even though there has been increasing amount of pressure from civil rights leaders to replace this rule, because what we have seen is that it's actually not working. Why? I'll tell you why. Okay, the NFL continues to increase, okay? Companies all over continues to increase. And it looks a little bit like this, right? Clubs must interview at least one diverse candidate or a diverse candidate not currently employed. They must continue best practice recommendations. They must maintain complete records of who they considered. Okay, fine. Sounds good, you might say. What's the big issue? Okay, here is an example of a woman talking about her experiences. She is a software engineer. Her husband is a software engineer. She is a ethnic minority. So a double whammy, right? Woman and an ethnic minority. Okay. And her husband is not. So let's look at what her actual experience here has been, okay, in tech, which should have nothing to do with this, right? Okay. My partner and I are both software engineers. I'm a woman of color and he's as white as it gets. We have both been applying for roles in big tech and elsewhere in the industry over the past few months. Our experiences have been wildly different. I feel myself growing resentful of him. Why? I interviewed at Google and he interviewed at Apple. I was kept in the loop for months and the feedback seemed to never match the actual interview. I'm a senior engineer with 8 years of experience, both on the enterprise level and through scaling startups. I've even sold my own. I've hustled in my career just to get what is often handed to people like my partner. In my first phone coding interview, I was given a linked list. I didn't work with linked list in the real world, as many front-end engineers will confirm. It's the kind of question you solve in an interview once every 9 years and then never again. She did it, right? There was an issue. The recruiter says, hey, you did middle of the road, but instead of being rejected, she was moved on. So the ensuing several months would be numerous additional interviews with 10 separate interviewers, okay, going through the rounds. All were white or white presenting males. The question asked were also those typical interviews that never come up in the real world. BS, right? In other words, she's being asked questions. Usually when you're going through an interview, right, ideally, okay, and this is a countermeasure I'm going to talk to you about, okay, to keep you safe here. But ideally, let me just make sure you guys are capturing all of this. Good. Ideally, every interview, they're knowing more about you, but you're supposed to be knowing more about what's actually going on there. It's the lead up to starting this role, right? But she's not getting this. So her warning signs are like, it's going on month after month after month. I get middling feedback. So I didn't do that great, but I'm not getting rejected. I'm being moved forward. So I must be doing something right. This continued for 3 months. I was exhausted. This is just one company. The reviews never seemed to reflect or align with how it seemed the interview actually went. It didn't add up. Finally, he ended the loop and said, I didn't do well enough on interview number 10 to proceed to an offer. Imagine how much time she has spent away from her loved ones by this point. For nothing. For bupkis. Has this happened to you? Have you been going through an interview process where you were never blowing them away, but you kept moving forward? Later, I would learn Google had slowed or even frozen hiring weeks earlier, probably around interview number 1. He never informed me of this. In our last conversation, I asked him why it was that among 10 interviewers, not one was diverse, and whether this reflected the makeup of the teams. It was here that he said, hey, we're not perfect. Google isn't perfect. There's just not that many of them in the talent pool to pick from. Listen to this. Of course, as a recruiter, I want you to highlight this. Of course, as a recruiter, the longer we can keep a diverse candidate interviewing, it looks good on us. Not, can we hire? The longer I can keep you if you're a woman, the longer I can keep you if you're black, the longer I can keep you if you're Indian or any visible minority. If I keep you in the running, it makes me able to hire the people I would have anyway. Still get the points for being open, socially open, diverse in our recruiting. Because look, you made it all the way to the last stage. Look at her. She made it 10 interviews in. It's not that we weren't considering her seriously. Although you can tell by the way that the interview was conducted that they weren't, right? That's how they do it. It's one of the big tools that they use to do it. So if you're wondering why a company like Google, for all of their bullshit, has a hiring strata and an executive strata that looks the way that it does, this is one of those reasons. This is a big part, okay? So now let's contrast this with what her partner, who is white, experienced, right? My partner, on the other hand, interviewed over 2 days. His evaluation consisted of reviewing HTML and CSS and making minor improvements to it in front of an interviewer. He received an offer immediately, right? When you want to work with someone, there are signs, right? You don't want to dilly-dally with that. I also received an offer, okay, from a different company whose interview process completely removes any potential bias just by the nature of the process. I wish many companies would do that, especially when it comes to software, when it comes to engineering. As a candidate, you do several challenging assignments lasting several weeks, not happy about that, and speak to virtually no one. I would have to work my current role and the new role in order to make 70% of what he is going to be making from his offer. I would need 2 jobs and still wouldn't be making near what he's making. Currently, I have the same role on the same team at the same company that he did a year ago, and I make 80% of what his salary was. I'm frustrated, I'm cynical, and I'm exhausted. And people are telling me, listen to this. Then I learned about the ROONEY Rule. I learned this experience has been described by other diverse candidates. I believe I had been Rooneyed. Okay? So, just so we can be clear about this, right? This is something that you need to watch out for. Just so we can be absolutely 100% on the same page here. This is not an NFL issue. This is not, just an IT issue. Any competitive company in any competitive industry right now is going to be immensely tempted to use this kind of rationale, this kind of thinking, because it allows them to run business as usual, and all it costs is your time. All it costs is your hope. All it costs is what you're doing. So what can you do to protect yourself from this? What can you do to keep yourself safe? Okay, number 1, I want you to be absolutely fierce, and I don't care if it burns a bridge, to push for outcomes on every interview and hiring interaction that you have. If you have a 10-minute getting to know you with a recruiter, I want you to get at least one concrete piece of intelligence. Why did you reach out? What is something that I need to know before I go into this interview? Why are you involving yourself? I want you to get a little bit of insider perspective and real information there. If you're in a first interview, your job is to find out those 2 or 3 elements they don't want you to know about. The 2 or 3 elements that are really driving that hire. They're going to position it as something positive, most likely. We want to grow, we need more marketing help, etc. They're not going to tell you that their whole events marketing side of the business collapsed post-pandemic. They're not going to tell you that they're in rapid redux mode, but in order to trust you, it's important that you use every answer that you get, every information that you share as a way to go deeper with them, as a way to say, hey, let's push for relevancy here. I'm not here to talk about ancient history. Let's talk about how this relates, or does it? Right? What have you found here? Let's not talk about hypothetical questions, right? Let's talk about what's actually here. And I'm open and willing. That's why I'm here, to start solving these problems, not just hypothetically, right? Push for outcomes. If they don't want to go into outcomes with you, if they don't want to go into details with you, and you are dealing fairly with them, they are screwing you over. And it is far, far better that you don't waste your time like this woman did on 10 interviews. It's far, far better that you stand up for yourself and say, hey, you know what? Nothing really occurred there. Nothing really happened. We weren't really able to explore something meaningful in that first one. So how can we make sure, I know you're inviting me to do a follow-up, what are we trying to do here? Because I want to make sure that we're not wasting each other's time. What are we going to go over here? And just, so that I can better prepare as well, and I can make sure that we actually make some leeway here. I'm sure you don't want to be stuck there as well. If they're not, ask yourself, why then are they interested? If they're not interested in you, they're not giving you the information, you're not going deeper, and you're not getting that level of commitment, there's nothing here that's going on that's going to make it more likely for you to get a job. It is better for you to walk away. It is better for you to walk away and have 1, 2, 3 moments of awkwardness with someone and preserve your dignity, preserve your self-respect, and move on. I've often done business with people I've said no to out of self-respect in the right way. I have never done business with people who have strung me along and wasted my time, and neither will you, okay? Number 2, I want you to end this good student thing. It makes me sick to my stomach to see grown men and women out there trying to good student their way and thinking I'm going to earn my way. No one's here to give you high-level positions and authority. No one. You're either going to earn it the right way, you're either going to generate it the right way, or you're not, right? So I want you to ask yourself, I don't want you to skills trade. I don't want you to go out there saying, I need another degree, I need another training, I need another credential. I want you to set yourself apart. What are people in your industry getting wrong? Highlight that in your brand. What are people in your industry being boneheaded about? Highlight that in your brand. What are the 3 to 5 areas that every CEO right now is sweating bullets over? Highlight that in your brand. Get those recommendations going in your LinkedIn profile. Make sure those references, I don't care if you have less is more. I don't care if you have one reference. Make it someone that you really respect, someone who has real buy-in for you. Don't just fake it. Don't be a phony, and don't put in weak sauce there. That's authority. That's just one of 15 different ways, engagement being another one that is massive. Stress unique value. I want you to cut a line from 95% of the other, using this example, software engineers. What's her process of moving this company forward through tech that no one else can? Don't think like an engineer, think like a partner to the business. That's the way that you want to brand. That's the way that you want to talk, right? When you're in that interview, it's very important. Are you just answering every question, or is it clear that you have criteria of your own? If you've been a part of some big companies or even some not big companies, is it clear by the questions that you're asking that you know the difference between a company that is faking it versus a company that is not? What are some things that you're looking for here? Ask them in that first interview. It's a very powerful way to build that authority. Finally, diversify your career and job search strategies. Don't even talk to me about being frustrated if the length and breadth of what you want to do in your career is basically codified in spending hours in anonymous job posting mode. Okay? That's one way to do things. There's 50 ways to get that outcome. And if you're not willing to look at that 50, you deserve to stay in the hell that you're in. If that doesn't resonate with you, don't bother taking this action. If it does, I would recommend hop on over, follow me, hop on over to helloanish.com if you want to go even deeper. All free trainings career coming from the 2,000 plus people we have already served out of this hell and taught how to generate these ideal opportunities and offers on their terms. Don't get rooneyed, folks. Life is too short to be screwed over by these idiots. Hope this makes sense. Talk soon.